Hey everybody, my name's Jason Ward. I'm here with Chris Netto, Mark Coxon there in the USA. Real pleasure to be here on AV Smackdown, and I want to talk about, in the loosest possible terms, the process.
The process. I get what you're saying, man.
So for me, it only works with your people, your process, and your culture at the heart of those three. And that, right in that Venn diagram, that's when it works. So if one part of the Venn goes away, it stops working. What's your thoughts on that, Chris?
The process, man. It's such a, you're right, it's such a loose term in business. When you start looking at how you're going to do business, you have to set rules. And in those rules is, let's take a process within business, recruitment, right? So you're in the UK, you have a lot of different areas where you can go find talent. Where I live in the New York, New Jersey area, there's a lot of integrators, a lot of different shops. I may have a lot more people to grab the talent. So part of your process is how are you out there looking for talent and your recruitment, right? So you must have some hard lines of, hey man, we're going to go out and we're going to find the best talent. Are you guys going to university? Are you recruiting fresh? Or are you looking for experience? And the process overall is, what's that checklist? And the companies that are successful are the ones that are going out and developing, like you said. There's the organization, there's the culture, and if you're in sales, there's a sales culture with that as well. So you're out recruiting this talent. You have to stay within your rules of what you're looking for. You veer, and sometimes it could be big.
Yeah.
You can uncover a gem in the recruitment process. Right? Here's this woman who is excellent at sales, right? Or is an excellent engineer, right? And maybe she didn't check off all the boxes. Maybe she didn't have the degree, but damn, she can CAD.
Yeah.
Like crazy, and we need a CAD person. So, the process, yes, you stick within a process, but sometimes the most creative things come from these like little offshoots that you just say, you know what, I want to stay within the process, everything's checking off, but I found myself a gem. Mark, do you agree with how, what's the best way, say in a recruitment process, for example?
Yeah, I mean, in recruitment, it's funny. I've always said you need to know, I only look for two things. If I was an employer, I look for two things. I look for attitude and I look for aptitude. I look for somebody who has an attitude to learn, a very similar approach to the business that I would have, as far as just to customers and to thoughts on technology, and I look for the aptitude to learn. You don't have to know everything. If you know everything in this business and you don't have aptitude to learn new things, you're obsolete tomorrow anyway. Because guess what? Somebody's releasing a new product tomorrow. AV over IP is coming up, and the old RGBV, HV stuff is out. If you can't learn new things in this industry, you're not going to be long-lived anyway. So, I always look for those two things. One of my friends is at Dana Innovations, another manufacturer, and he deems it hungry and humble. He looks for hungry and humble. I want people that are looking to make a difference, who are passionate about what they do, and not too smart to learn new things, right? So hungry, humble, attitude, aptitude, I think those things are like what you're talking about, Chris, when you're saying, we can uncover some gems if we get outside of this paradigm of like, I'm only going to hire a guy who has done sales in the higher ed market because I'm looking for somebody to do sales in the higher ed market, right? I think sometimes we get too much of that. We do this purple cow job rec. We write down every single little thing we want the person to do, and then we start to see, oh, well, they haven't done all those things, so we're not going to hire anybody. And then 6 months later, you still haven't hired anybody. You could have brought somebody in that was hungry, humble, attitude, aptitude, and then walk them through, this is the way we do things. This is the way we talk to customers. This is where we've had success in the past with some of these other verticals. This is why customers like us. And you go from there, and then they start to learn, your culture and your process as they go through to get to where they need to be. But yeah, that's my take on it.
I like that hungry, humble, but salespeople recruiting salespeople. Are we easier to sell to, Mark?
I am very difficult to sell to, honestly.
Okay.
I don't like I'm very I'll tell you, it's funny. I read this book once. It's called The Ultimate Sales Machine. It may be worth reading, it may not. There are a couple little gems in there. But one of the interesting things in there is at some point in that book, they tell you that you should have these presentations, right? And you should have different levels of the presentation for different levels of audience. And it was a really good idea. And then they send you to this phone number, and this company will build these presentations for you. So I get on the phone and they pitch me this presentation, and it's going to cost $25,000 for them to put together this deck for me, right? The hour version, the 40-minute version, the 15-minute and Cliff Notes version. The guy pitches $50,000 and he shuts up, or 25,000, whatever it was. He shuts up, he just sits there. And I just sit there because I know what he's doing. He's trying to sell me. He who talks first loses, right? He's using like old school sales techniques on me. So I sit there, he sits there. At some point he goes, "Are you still there?" And I go, "Yeah, but I wasn't going to talk first." And he just starts laughing, right? So I'm very difficult to sell to as a salesperson because I'm kind of onto those techniques. I mean, I really want to work with people that I like. I mean, for me, there are three things in jobs as a salesperson. When I look, there are only three things I really look at. I call them the 3 C's. So it's challenge. Is the job going to be challenging? I'm going to wake up excited to do it. Compensation. Obviously, I have 3 kids I got to feed, so I got to get paid. And the other is culture. Do I like the people? I have to deal with these people 8 hours a day, sometimes 6-7 days a week. I got to live at Infocom with them 24 hours a day, or 23 hours a day with an hour of sleep, right, Chris?
Right.
Exactly. So, from my side, I look for those things when I'm looking for a job. But I'm difficult to sell to.
Culture, that culture thing. How do we sell that? You're interviewing, you're recruiting someone. Social media? What other channels?
Culture is hard to sell in a process, because the process that traditional interview process is going to be come in one-on-one. Everybody wants that one-on-one,
Yeah.
right? I've been brought into rooms where it was almost like a panel. Sit here and then there's, people. It's intimidating. One-on-one is more relaxed. I think that how you sell culture on an interview is you don't do any of those. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go for a walk. Let's show you some stuff.
Yeah.
Never talk about the job. Just talk about what's going on here. Hey, this is Bobby. His job, he works on these racks. Bobby, tell him what the last rack you built. Oh, I built the rack for the stadium. And, the first concert that went there was, Kiss played their last reunion tour. And you're like, oh, I'm a relationship guy.
Yeah.
Unlike Mark, who looks, Mark knows how to be a salesperson.
Yeah.
I don't know how to act like a salesperson. Right?
You do a good job.
Because I'm the relationship guy. My job is a little different.
Yeah.
I'm going to also be attracted by the compensation. I'm going to be attracted in a different way of compensation, right? My mentality is more team building, right? So in order for Mark to be successful, my relationships need to work, because I work with consultants.
Yeah.
Right? I work with consultants on a daily basis, and the consultants, in the AV industry are out there, and they're working on the projects that are, 2-3 years out. I understand that. In sales, guys like Mark are out there on a daily basis looking for, what's out there, what's coming now. My responsibility is to build these relationships with the consultants and try to provide them, what they're looking for. And 90% of the time, it's specs, it is product updates, and it's how soon or how far along is this product that we can actually get this. Because when they're talking about a roadmap, right, it's now, they're trying to gauge, and it's hard because I was a consultant. You're trying to gauge, the latest version of ClickShare, for example, is coming out, at this point. And all right, will that be out in time for this project, or do we go with the previous version, or do we wait?
Yeah.
Right. So roadmaps and all that, that has a lot of trust built into it. Not that what Mark does has nothing to do with trust, but if you're going to rely on me that a product's coming out, for lack of a better expression, my butt's on the line.
Yeah.
So I need to be open, honest, truthful, and at the same time, working, down that road. But again, I've went down the road. I would not sell on a one-on-one interview, a job or the culture. I think it's you grabbing that person, whoever that person is. By the time they stepped in the room, you already have the guidelines that you were looking for to check off your process. They had the resume. They may have a couple years experience. Maybe they have a CTS. Those are check items. You get them off now. Put them in the setting. Let them interact, and you can read how people are going to move, around and how comfortable they fit. I mean, does that sound like something that's possible?
So coming back to our little island again.
Oh, you're back on the island. All right.
The thing is, all the good sales guys are happy, and they're harder to extract from the job they have, even by remuneration. So one of the challenges we've been addressing in the past year or two has been from outside of industry, which brings about other training challenges that you could do a whole nother one of these on. But recruit from IT, because they're selling solution-based sales, but not AV solution-based sales. So we're pulling that kind of guy or girl into the business then from an IT background. Have we seen, Mark, much successful transition from the other way, IT to AV?
I think so, if you can find the right mentality. And my take on this has always been that, AV and IT have similar things in that we're talking to some of those same stakeholders, decision makers, and we both have to have some technical aptitude to understand the impact of your product or service on your customer's business. And those things are important when you're starting to relate value, right? But I think the one thing that you have to find is if you're going to find those people, you have to find big picture people. Because for me, the big thing is IT typically is focused on more of delivery of data and the security of that data. So if I get my ones and zeros from A to B, and they got there without being stolen by someone else who isn't supposed to see them, I've done my job. In AV, I can get the ones and zeros there, but if it doesn't look pretty, if it doesn't sound good, then all of a sudden it wasn't right. So as long as you can get somebody out of the kind of packet delivery and packet security mindset and into the, yes, we are delivering these signals from A to B, and we are doing it in a way that you're used to over these networks with these type of cables and these type of connectors, but we have these other priorities at the end. As long as you can find somebody who can shift and understand the purpose of the business, that's why I say big picture person, I think it can be great, for sure.
I agree with Mark. My big fear with IT people are the trouble ticket people that won't react and won't move. And as somebody who spent time on site as a corporate end user, corporate technology person, right? The biggest challenge is that an IT trouble ticket takes time to put in, and then takes time to be answered. And by the time it comes to a phone or across somebody's computer, the meeting's gone. Yeah. The meeting's wasted. So I have very close personal attachment to the IT versus AV. I had 5-minute reaction time, right? I had an SLA of 10. Yeah. Well, they don't have, and it was very separate. Even though I worked for IT, AV, you need to be in the room in 10 minutes. That's your SLA, right? To the point where it was campus environment. I'm running across campus, or we'd have to staff in that building. Meanwhile, there's one desk side support person who would pick up a laptop and swap it out. Yeah. And it could take up to 24 hours. That was acceptable. Yeah. But in a conference room, you have 5 minutes. You have 30-minute meeting. Yeah. If 15 minutes is taken up with you fiddling around, half that meeting's lost. Those numbers are tough, man. We're a different breed of technician, especially in these high pressure, high end rooms. One of my favorite job interview processes to bring in the new guys, because I worked with guys that were on-site people, managed service. So an outside company was supplying technicians, and we would go through the technicians and test them out. My favorite was sending that person into a room full of people. How do they react? Yeah. It's almost like that. Mark made fun of me the other day. It's Hurt Locker mentality. Here you go, gear up, The bomb's on the table, go defuse it.
Yeah.
You know, and in place of the bomb or the Hurt Locker thing, it's you're walking in, the projector's down, or there's no the video conference is not taking place. What do you do? It's what was that movie back in the 90s? You know, what do you do, man? What do you do?
Yeah.
You know, it's all right. Switch it to an audio conference. Shut the video down. Work on it in the back end. The guy that walked in there and tried to fix it, put on the cape. I'm like, dude, thank you. I appreciate the effort, but you just spent way too much time trying to fix a problem when you should have just walked in and turned on the live audio conference, apologize, and work on it in the background so these guys are up and running.
Yeah.
So, yeah, put your feet to the fire in that sort of aspect. So, we'll see.
I like all of that, but I do like the big picture from Mark as well.
I'm more doom and gloom. That's okay. That's all right.
It's been my pleasure again to be here with you guys on AV Smackdown. Mark Copson, Captain America, and Mr. America, Chris Neto. It's been awesome to be here. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. I'm JP Ward, or just Jason Ward to everyone that meets me in person, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.